And welcome to another edition of Mike on MMA. Today I'm going to be talking about UFC 158. Now, I am not going to number my Mike on MMAs anymore. It's not going to be like episode 15, 16, whatever. It's just going to be like Mike on MMA UFC 158. I don't know. I don't really see a point anymore to put episode number. Maybe it's just me, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to talk about the first two fights because they shouldn't have even been on the pay-per-view. I'm sure they were just fillers. They were boring, but there's no reason that they should have been there. But the final three definitely made up for them. The first fight of the three, which was Jake Ellenberger versus Nate Marquardt, and I actually chose Marquardt, but the winner ended up being Ellenberger, who knocked the fuck out of Marquardt. My being of why I chose Marquardt was because he's more of the veteran. He's been around longer. Ellenberger's got strong hands as well as Marquardt, but Marquardt's also bigger. He was a 185er, but by the looks of them, Ellenberger's a big boy. He's ripped, and the Juggernaut is a suitable name for him, but he's got great, Ellenberger's got great wrestling. Marquardt's got great grappling, kind of, but he's also way good at striking, but he got knocked the fuck out. Man, when he got knocked out, he had no idea what was going on. I think even Joe Rogan even said that after he had gotten up, he was like, I don't remember getting knocked out. When did that happen? So, yeah, that was pretty bad. But the co-main event, which was Johnny Hendricks and Carlos Condit. This was basically your number one contender fight. So whoever got this is going to get the next title fight. This fight, I chose Condit. And, Condit's very, very skilled on the ground. He's very, very skilled standing up. His strikes he has very good strikes. He can kind of pick you apart, no problem. Hendricks got a strong left hand where he just kind of swings wild and sends freaking that's pretty much what he does. And he knocks everybody out doing it. He knocked out Campman. He knocked out Fitch. Just one punch out cold. And they have the same fall. They go limp like they're dead. His one punch is amazing. He's also a great wrestler. He has, I don't know his credentials in wrestling, but he's got like a double NCAA division, something or other. He won all his fights except for his wrestling matches except for his very last one. So he's a very decorated wrestler. He can wrestle the hell out of you, I guess you could say. But he's also got strong hands, and that's what he's been relying on. Now, Carlos Condit he's got a tough chin. He took those punches like it was nothing. He just took, all right, keep going. And it basically turned into Hendricks wrestling Condit down to the ground. He didn't do much onto the ground, but me personally, I thought Condit won. He was working a lot more. He got back up. He didn't let Hendricks do anything on the ground. But, what are you going to do? You leave it to the judges, they're probably going to give it to the wrestler because they're going to take you down, and most of the time they hold you, depending on the wrestler. But, yeah, it really could have went either way. I had them both 1-1. I believe it was the first round I had to Hendricks, second round Condit, and the third round I gave to Condit, but it could have been a toss-up, They're always that way. And then you got the main event, which was GSP, Georgia St-Pierre, versus Nick Diaz. Now, I chose GSP because you really don't bet against GSP, and he's one of my favorite fighters of all time. Nick Diaz is a very good striker, but technically he really didn't deserve this fight. The only reason he got this fight was because GSP asked for it. He just came off of a year suspension for smoking weed. His last fight, he lost to Carlos Condit, but, what are you going to do? He did so much shit-talking to GSP. Like, this is the first time I've ever seen GSP mad. like he was actually mad at his opponent. He actually he called him an uneducated fool on the conference call. Man, it was crazy to see some real angry emotion coming from GSP. But I mean, even during the fight pretty much went like all GSP fights. He took him down, controlled him, just pounded on him. The only thing that I would have liked to see a lot more of was GSP throwing elbows. He didn't get a lot of ground and pound, but Nick Diaz is a very good grappler. He's a very good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. But he had nothing on GSP. The only thing he did do is, I think it was the third and fourth round, he was actually stopping his takedowns. I couldn't believe it. Nobody stops GSP's takedowns. I was shocked. He stopped 3 or 4 or something like that. It was crazy. I mean, that doesn't happen. But, like usual, GSP won. Decision. A lot of people call him boring. I don't think he's boring at all. He works. He takes you down. He was beating... Okay, they're saying Nick Diaz was the better boxer. Well, he definitely did not get the better of the boxing. I mean, GSP is a great boxer, too. You know, a lot of people don't give him the credit of being a stand-up fighter, but he trains boxing with Freddie Roach. He's, what I think it's a 5th Dan or something like that in Kyokushin karate. Dude's a beast. Doesn't matter. Standing up on the ground, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He could have went on the Olympics for the wrestling team for Canada. He's all around a badass. That being said, everybody complains about him not finishing people, but guess what? He usually punishes them. He usually just beats them up on the ground. So, I mean, what are you going to do? They were saying that he had a fever. He kind of messed up his knee. He might have re-injured it a little bit. So, I mean, the dude beat him with a hurt knee and a fever. So, I mean, come on. He's pretty badass. But, you know, like your typical Nick Diaz fight afterwards, you know, he says, I'm not gonna make excuses for my loss, but... And then he starts listing, man, I've never heard anybody complain so much. Why you gotta be such a whiner? I mean, oh, you know, he might have had somebody in my camp telling me that I'm gonna try to roll this knee bar. Come on, really? He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's not gonna know how to protect against a freaking knee bar? A rolling knee bar? I don't think so. So there might be some... Wow, that just went through. Oh, well. There might be something in his gloves. Jake Shields was trying to say that there's something fishy in his hand wraps. Really? You think the commission's going to let that shit slide? I don't think so. They check it before they do it. They sign it off. Just always, in the Cesar Gracie camp, they're always complainers. They're always whiners. They're just always excuses for everything. I don't like them as a camp. Most of their fighters are crybabies. Most of them are assholes. Like Nick and Nate Diaz, man, they're the only fighters that will call people bitches in their fights. They're the only ones that, they make themselves look like assholes. They make themselves look like idiots. It's supposed to be a professional sport. Act like a professional. You're doing mixed martial arts. You're supposed to be a martial artist. Martial artists aren't dickheads. Have you ever been to a martial arts studio? I have, plenty of times. Everybody's humble, not dickheads. But I'm going to kind of go off of this tangent and just stop it right there. Let me know what you think about these guys, if you know who they are, if you watch. What do you think of the event? And yeah, I guess that's pretty much about it. I'm going to stop this video because I'm sure it's probably getting pretty long. All right, bye-bye.